Have you ever hurt someone just by surviving the only way you knew how? That's what happens in The Runaway. Not just a fight, but a collision between two trauma responses. One lashes out, one locks down. And what breaks between them was never just about them. The Runaway doesn't open with bending or battles. It opens with betrayal. Toph, tangled in a net, glares back at Katara. "You betrayed me," she growls. Katara doesn't blink. Arms crossed, she says, "You brought this on yourself." But the truth is, it started long before that. 3 days earlier, the group is training. Katara and Toph are play fighting, but it doesn't stay playful for long. Every quip has a bite. Every bend carries something unspoken. Mud flies, tempers flare. Aang tries to lighten the mood. Sokka yells, "Sneak attack!" with a grin. But beneath the surface, something's already cracking. Because Toph doesn't just want fun, she needs rebellion. And Katara doesn't just want peace, she needs control. You've probably felt it too. The pressure to hold everyone together, to make the plans, do the work, anticipate the needs. That quiet, aching sense that if you let go for even a moment, everything might fall apart. That's how Katara lives. You've probably felt the opposite too. The need to break away. To prove that no one controls you anymore. To chase freedom so hard, you forget what you're running from. That's how Toph survives. That's the undercurrent adults often recognize. How every fight about chores or tone of voice or texting back is rarely about that thing. It's about something older, something harder to say. Soon, Toph starts scamming townsfolk. With her seismic sense, she can win any game. Her tricks are clever, funny, even admirable. Sokka and Aang cheer her on. They eat better, laugh more, they feel alive. But Katara? She doesn't smile. And you know why? Because someone always has to be the voice of reason, the killjoy, the one who sees the cliff's edge before everyone else. Katara warns them, this will catch up with us. But they wave her off. She's being motherly again. Motherly. That word stings. Because when you've had to grow up too fast, when grief has forced you into the role of caretaker, that label feels like both a compliment and a curse. And when you're used to being smothered, like Toph was, when control has always meant being unseen, structure feels like suffocation. So when Katara confronts Toph, it's not about scams, it's about something deeper. Toph tosses money at her. Katara throws it back. Words are flung harder than any rock or wave. "You're not my mom." Well, you certainly act like it. It's brutal because it's true, and in that truth, they break each other. But here's the part no one says aloud. Both girls are trying to protect something sacred. Katara is scared. Not of the Fire Nation, but of losing one more person she loves. She clings to rules because she doesn't trust the world to be safe without them. And when you've lost someone early, that fear never fully leaves. You build routines around it. You check in too often. You try to make everything safe. You become the one who remembers the appointments, carries the extra charger, packs the snacks. It looks like control, but it's really grief in disguise. Because losing someone teaches you a brutal lesson, that love doesn't always last. So you grip tighter. And when someone threatens the fragile order you've created, it feels like a second loss waiting to happen. That's why Katara can't just let it go. It's never just about the scam. But Toph, she's scared too. Scared that if she stops running, the guilt will catch up. Maybe she did hurt her parents. That maybe being the runaway isn't just a nickname, it's a confession. And maybe that's how it is in adult life too. We find our personas, the organizer, the rebel, the peacemaker, the clown, not because they're true, but because they help us survive. Until one day, someone challenges the role, and we explode Dot-Or in Toph's case. Earth launch a coin into someone's teeth. But that's why the runaway hits so hard, because it's not really about scams or rules. It's about two different responses to pain and what happens when they stop being compatible. But something changes when Sokka, so often the comic relief, shares something vulnerable. He tells Toph about their mother, about how Katara filled that void, quietly, powerfully, about how, when he tries to remember their mom's face, all he can picture is Katara. And you realize she didn't ask for this. She became the mother because someone had to. Because grief doesn't wait for permission. Toph hears this, really hears it. And then, something miraculous happens. Katara invites Toph to pull one last scam, just the two of them. She doesn't do it to prove a point. She does it to say, I see you, I trust you, I want to meet you where you are. But the plan backfires. Toph is thrown in a wooden cell, Katara too. And they realize this wasn't a stunt, it was a setup, their bait. Combustion Man is coming for Aang. Stuck in that cell, stripped of power, there's nothing left but the truth. I wanted to prove I could be fun, Katara says. I try not to think about it, Toph admits, but when I left, I probably really hurt them. This is the moment, not the escape, not the fight, but the confession, the letting down of armor. Katara holds her. No bending, no words, just presence. Because sometimes the bravest thing we can do isn't to fight or flee, but to stay. Eventually, they break free. Katara uses her sweat, yes, sweat, to waterbend them out of the cell. Rock Bottom comes with a scent. It's gross, it's genius, it's deeply poetic. Resourcefulness born from exhaustion. Transformation born from discomfort. Exactly how most adult growth actually happens. They rejoin the boys. The fight is quick, chaotic. Because nothing says group cohesion like trauma, combustion, and unpaid therapy. Toph lands the final blow, but the real victory happens quietly later that night. Toph turns to Katara. I want to write a letter to my parents. Will you help me? This is what healing looks like. Not a grand gesture, not a perfect apology, just a small, soft step toward what was once unthinkable. And maybe that's what real relationship looks like too. Not someone who always agrees with you, but someone who's willing to meet you in your mess, who doesn't need you to have it all figured out, who knows that even strong people need softness, that even the runaway needs a home, that even the caretaker needs care. Because the truth is, your story doesn't have to be tidy. You don't have to land on your feet every time. Sometimes you lash out. Sometimes you shut down. Sometimes you say the thing you wish you could take back. But if you're lucky, you'll have someone who sticks around anyway. Someone who says, you hurt me, but I see you, and I'm still here. That's what Toph and Katara give each other in the end. Not perfection, but presence. And maybe that's the most anyone can give. Toph, the runaway, stops running. Katara, the mother figure, stops managing. For a moment, they just are. So what do we take from the runaway? That most fights aren't about what they seem to be. They're echoes, ghosts, ancient survival strategies crashing into one another. That sometimes the rebel and the rule follower are protecting the same thing, a wounded heart. That the people we find most frustrating are often the ones we need to understand most. And that maybe the first step to healing isn't fixing the other person, it's naming our own fear. What are you running from? Who are you trying to protect? What role are you still playing? Because we all have a bit of Katara, a bit of Toph. We all know what it's like to feel unseen, unheard, overburdened, out of control. But growth doesn't come from staying in character. It comes from breaking pattern, from saying, I'm scared, or I'm sorry, or will you help me write this letter? That's when healing begins. So if you've ever been the runaway, or the one who stayed behind, leave a like. And if you want to keep walking these emotional paths with us, hit subscribe. This world is full of bending, but it's the breaking that makes us human. And unfortunately, there's no element for emotional stability.